Hi there, friend. This is Beth, and I have a story to tell. What I want to share with you is about a health journey. It started in mid-January when my son Corey, who some of you may know, Corey has CRPS, Complex Regional Pain Syndrome, and he has gone through treatment for that at the Spiro Clinic, and he is in remission and is doing great. In the meantime, he's gone to chiropractor school in Kansas City at Cleveland University, and he wants to become a chiropractor so that he can help other people that have what he has. So anyway, long story short, mid-January, Corey found a video on YouTube about a carnivore lifestyle. And he started watching videos on YouTube, and he started eating a carnivore lifestyle. It is exactly what it sounds like. Only eating meat products. So beef, butter, bacon, and eggs is what they say when they get you started on carnivore. So Corey started it. He started even feeling better than he was. He was still having some residual pain in his foot from his CRPS. Occasionally he had some pressure in the evening from his CRPS, and I was having a little bit of trouble sleeping and was occasionally having to take an Aleve or something to help him sleep. So anyway, he started on carnivore mid-January, and what he did was he sent me a video of Dr. Ken Berry talking about 10 autoimmune disorders that could benefit from a carnivore way of living. So I watched that video, and as a former scientist, I guess once you're a scientist, you're always a scientist, but I was a microbiology major and a medical technologist in my former life. I had been a personal trainer and had taught people how to be fit and some general nutrition for 25 years. So I have some science background, and I was watching this video from Dr. Ken Berry talking about 10 autoimmune disorders that could benefit from a carnivore lifestyle, and it made sense to me. It made sense. And I will, if this actually becomes a YouTube video, I see people say this all the time, I'll link it in the description box. But if this becomes a YouTube video, I will link it in the description box so that you can go watch it. So I have celiac disease, and I have the beginnings of some arthritis in my hands, which I believe is osteoarthritis. My RA test is negative, so I think we're still good there. It's just osteo. I have very bad skin. I don't sleep well at night. I have, even though I am gluten-free, I still have some nagging little symptoms related to my autoimmune disorder. So I did like I always do, and I absolutely obsessed about carnivore. I started watching YouTube videos, I started reading books, I started doing all this information, trying to get all this information about the carnivore lifestyle. And from the middle of January until February 1, I probably watched, I would say 100 hours of YouTube videos on the carnivore lifestyle, and I read a book. So, and I joined some carnivore Facebook groups, and I just jumped in. So I was doing all my research, and I decided that I wanted to go down this road. And one thing that Dr. Berry said in that first video that I watched was, you need to give it a 90-day trial, 90 days. So I determined I was going to do 90 days of carnivore, and I prepped my kitchen, I prepped my refrigerator, I prepped my mind, and I went cold turkey. On February 1, 2024, I took all carbohydrates out of my diet. All carbohydrates. No grains, no sugar, no processed foods, no potatoes, no vegetables, not a single Brussels sprout. I'm telling you, it sounds crazy. It sounds crazy. And yet, here I am, 100 days later, to tell you it has changed my world. So one of the things that I decided I was going to do when going carnivore was that I was going to journal, because I've never really been good at journaling. I've tried it in the past for other reasons and I'm not good at it. But I felt like with this journey, I really needed to journal. I wish that I had started video journaling back in the beginning, but I did not. So I wrote in this journal, and before I even started, for a couple of weeks, I wrote all the reasons I thought I wanted to try carnivore, all of the little nagging symptoms that I had that I was hoping would go away once I started carnivore. I journaled my thoughts, my feelings, my sleep patterns, my eating patterns before carnivore. And then once I started, I journaled everything I ate and everything I drank. And I was very, very clean. Very, very clean for the first 60 days anyway. And I'm here to tell you that the changes that took place in my body in a very short period of time are remarkable. The first thing I noticed that changed was my skin. I have always had very dry, very bumpy skin. The herpetiformis from the celiac disease had left scarring and bumps and very, very dry. My dermatologist had told me I just had congenitally dry skin and it wasn't ever going to change. But immediately, within 3 or 4 days of going carnivore, my skin was better. Immediately, within 3 or 4 days of going carnivore, swelling in my hands went down. The nodules that I was beginning to get on my knuckles from the arthritis went down and were no longer painful. I felt more mentally clear immediately. I started sleeping a little bit better. Now, that was the last thing to change. And the other thing that was absolutely miraculous those first few days on carnivore, tinnitus or tinnitus, I see it pronounced both ways, in my ears, gone. I'd had it for 10 years, gone. So pain in my hip, pain in my knee, all these little things got better. I have a hernia, no longer hurt, no longer was popping out. I was having some incontinence issues, immediately gone away. So I knew within the first 2 weeks of being on the carnivore program that I was going to see benefit from this. So having that reinforcement early on in the process definitely kept me motivated to keep going. So were there side effects? Absolutely. In carnivore, they talk about like a detoxification process. Your body has to get rid of a lot of the toxins that it has, and in particular, there is a compound called oxalates. I'm not going to go into it. I'm not an expert, but there's oxalates, and they are found in vegetables. When you eat a lot of vegetables, your body accrues oxalates. So I had some oxalate dumping. I had some laying in bed, writhing in pain. My hips ached. My shoulders ached. My stomach was a little bit upset. I mean, that lasted for about 4 days. And it started a weekend and it lasted for 4 days. But once that passed, no more of it. No more. I feel amazing. So the process works for me. Is it a challenge to not eat any carbohydrates? Yes. In this world that we live in with so many processed foods and so many sugars everywhere and alcohol, let's be honest, that was the hardest part for me. I love red wine. I'm not a wino. I don't have a problem, but I love red wine. And that was the hardest thing for me to give up. And I'll be honest, if I had a cheat, it was a glass of wine. So, but I found that even though I was occasionally having a glass of wine, I still felt amazing compared to how I had felt before. So that was the beginning. So, again, I'm not a doctor. I don't really want to talk about the medical side of why carnivore works. I am just going to tell you why it works for me. I believe that plants have toxins in them. And I believe that cows, other animals, are uniquely designed to take plants and plant proteins and create a protein that is perfect for humans to consume. It is the ideal human diet. It has all of the nutrients that we need in that animal protein. There are no required carbohydrates. And when you do some research into the carnivore way of living, you will come to realize that big food and big pharma have a lot to do with how our diets have been influenced in the last 40 years in the United States. The food pyramid is a scam. Giving people medicine whenever they have high cholesterol or high blood sugar might not be the best thing for people. Very rarely when you go to a doctor will they suggest to you first, hey, let's take a look at what you're eating. And perhaps that could be causing your problems. Perhaps that could be causing your metabolic syndrome. Perhaps it is fueling the acne on your face. Perhaps it is fueling your cancer. Perhaps you are not helping yourself with your mental cognition. Maybe your diet is causing your Alzheimer's. Maybe your diet is causing you to feel lethargic. And we know from just looking at Americans and just looking at, walk into Walmart, I'm serious, people are unhealthy. People are unhealthy. For years and years and years, we've been telling people, eat more fruits and vegetables, eat less fat, eat less animal products. And guess what? People have only gotten more and more and more unhealthy in the process of doing these things. Veganism, vegetarianism, taking the fats out of our diet, taking the animal products out of our diet has made it very difficult for people to create good protein tissues within their own bodies. That's more science than I wanted to go into. But I do believe that processed foods, sugars, grains, the way that we eat them now, genetically modified, not the same as they were thousands of years ago, all right? Yes, Jesus ate bread. Yes, Jesus made fishes and loaves. Yes, he did. It's not the same wheat. It's not the same bread that people are eating now. I believe that ancestrally, going back not 10,000 years, but going back 300,000 years in human history, our ancestors were carnivores. Now, sometimes maybe they were not able to find meat and they would occasionally eat whatever they could find, nuts, berries, seeds. Yes, some of that was appropriate and still can be appropriate now, I believe. But for the most part, they found animals, killed animals, hunted animals, ate animals, and then they fasted until the next kill. Now, one thing I found immediately with carnivore. Once I was into it for a few days, the cravings for anything sweet, for anything carbohydrate, went completely away. And I was no longer hungry. So once you're on a carnivore lifestyle, it's very easy to go to 2 meals a day and occasionally 1 meal a day. And if you want to fast to help move the process along, to help cleanse, to help with autophagy, there's a lot of good reasons to fast, a lot of benefits in it. It is so easy to do on carnivore. It is so easy to fast. I've tried fast before, and I can't make it more than 8 hours, maybe 10, when I've got carbohydrates in my system, when my blood sugars are not regulated. I get too hungry, and I've got to eat something. On carnivore, the blood sugars are not going up and down. Your blood sugars stay stable because you're not giving yourself carbs. You're going to have a little bit of increase after food. Protein can turn to sugar once it gets in your body, but you're not going to have the massive swings in blood sugar and insulin changes in your body that you do when you're following a standard American diet. So immediately I was no longer hungry. Immediately I no longer craved carbs. Immediately I felt better. And guess what? This was not my goal. I started losing weight. I had been around 160 to 164, 165 pretty consistently for the last 10 years. And immediately the weight started coming off. When I started carnivore, I weighed myself. I was 155 when I started because I had been doing some intermittent fasting and some keto before I started carnivore. I had started that back in November of 23, and I started carnivore in February of 24. So I had lost a little bit on keto and intermittent fasting, but no major changes. Once I started only eating animal products, my blood sugar stabilized, my insulin levels stabilized, my tissues healed themselves, and the weight started falling off. I wasn't exercising at a high level, walking occasionally, every once in a while going to the gym, playing tennis, but I didn't have a specific exercise program that I was following, except for trying to walk a little bit every day. So that was the bonus for me. My BMI was in the overweight category, and it had been for a long time. And within 3 weeks, I'm pretty sure it was 3 weeks, my BMI was in the healthy category. Now, do I believe that's a healthy BMI? Probably not. I think that is exaggerated based on what the American population is. Since the American population is so overweight, I think the BMI is skewed a little bit up from what it probably should be to be ultimately healthy. But I feel good. I've lost 2 clothing sizes, and at this point, a total of 24 pounds from the beginning of my journey. So I got no complaints. My goal is to dance at my great-grandchildren's weddings. Now, my grandchildren are young, 7, 5, 3, and 1. So we're talking 40 years from now. I want to be 100 and dancing at my grandchildren's weddings. And if you watch these carnivore doctors on YouTube, they will tell you that humans are designed to live to be 120 in health. Why is it we are dying at 75 in metabolic syndrome, of cancer, of Alzheimer's? Why? You got to ask yourself why. Why are people dying so young when our bodies are designed to live to be 120. And I talk to people that say, oh, I don't want to live to be old. Well, that's because the idea that we have of old is what we see right now. We see my 88-year-old mother-in-law in memory care, unable to care for herself. We see people with Parkinson's whose quality of life declines quickly. We see people, young people, getting cancer and dying young of cancer. What if we are truly designed to live to be 120 in health when we give our bodies the proper nutrition that they need in order to make that happen? So, 100 days in, yes, I'm going to keep going. Going to take a little break for the next couple weeks. I'm going on a vacation. I cannot go to Hawaii and not eat pineapple. So I'm going to put it on the back burner a little bit, but I'm still going to be very careful about processed foods, seed oils, and sugar, processed sugar. I'll eat a little fruit in the next few weeks, probably a few vegetables, but I got to keep those oxalate levels down. I don't want to go through that oxalate dumping again. And I definitely don't want to get re-addicted to processed foods and simple sugar. So I think that's all I have to say on this topic for right now. I'm so excited that you've listened to this, and if you have any questions that I could answer, I would love to chat with you about it. Send me a message and I will get back with you as soon as I can. Thanks so much. Have a great day.